A long time ago, on a military ship, a boy signed on to a perilous trip. A would-be cadet with a penchant for danger. He signed on for thrills in a cryo-sleep manger. Corbulo's the name of his life's destination, a military school with a fine reputation. An officer's life was the life he had chosen, as he and his chums were cryonically frozen. And off into slip space the young people headed. But a problem arose that starfarers have dreaded. The long sleep of storage was to be interrupted by a technical flaw and some code that corrupted. As the good ship Jamaica flew on through the night, the seal on his chamber grew a bit less than tight. The cryopod opened a decade too soon, and Hamish thawed out 'neath an alien moon. Alone and afraid in the space between spaces, he gazed with fear at his companions' faces. He wiped frost from their visors, but onward they slept, safe and preserved, while poor Hamish just wept. When he got it together, he resolved to survive, alone on a starship. Now surely he'd thrive. All he'd need is some heat and a good source of food. But on waking the AI, the news wasn't good. Apologies, Beamish, but this ship is unmanned. You and the others are effectively canned. We ship you like cargo to some distant star. But this uncrewed transporter has no buffet bar, nor heating for humans, but there's plenty of air. So if you wrap up in blankets, you might still make it there. Your sleep chamber's ruined, and the backup is rusted. So if you get to Corbulo, you'll be all old and busted. It's been called a flat circle and a relative hitch. But the fact of the matter's, time is gravity's bitch. So you have my condolence, and I'll help if I can. But I suggest that indolence is the best kind of plan. So the darkness and cold would make anyone spooked, and young Master Hamish knew that his goose was cooked. He examined his options and set in for the flight. He'd be cold and hungry for this long, lonely night. So he needed some fuel for a possible fire, and protein to eat, lest his body expire. He looked high and low, and through every dark passage, but all he could find was an Oberto sausage, 200 years old, discarded, incredible, but because it was jerky, it was still kind of edible. As he chewed the last meat that he might ever enjoy, he thought about girls, and he thought about boys. Though frozen intact, nails and hair would still grow, and the seeds of his madness had started to show. He would shave them and clip them with tender composure, and burn hair and eat nails, lest he die of exposure. The smell, it was dreadful, and the sight even worse, but better this madness than a flight in a hearse. And so 10 long years passed, and Corbulo drew near, and Hamish's madness replaced all his fear. He got used to the routine, as we are wont to do, but he dreamed of poutine, and he played his kazoo. Oh, I didn't explain that he kept that toy whistle, or that he wore a tattoo of a plain Scottish thistle. His buzzing lament did not keep him sane. In fact, you could argue, it addled his brain. So when the ship at last reached the Corbulo banner, he was 30 years old and as mad as a spanner. The medics tried hard to habilitate Hamish. His exploits aboard were disturbing but famous. They found him a job doing what he does best, which is making the most of a terrible mess. So they put him in whites and they gave him a broom, and set him about cleaning room after room. The other cadets soon forgot Hamish's story, and Hamish got used to his missed chance at glory. He'd never a soldier or an officer be, but he never got used to the odor of pee. He'd clean it in bathrooms from floor to the sink, but I never revealed. What did poor Hamish drink? So here is the moral of this dreadful tale. Check all of your gaskets before you set sail. And if in your world you're aware that it's cleanish, remember the ballad of poor Hamish Beamish.